This Ford 500 is mechanically totaled and it's going straight to the scrapper. Let's find out what happened. Let's get started. This is a 2005 Ford 500. It's kind of what came after the Ford Taurus. It's in that family of cars. It's a mid-size sedan that Ford offered, and they weren't terrible, but they weren't great. They're okay cars. Now, when a vehicle is totaled, we all think it's been in a horrible accident. The whole side of it's caved in. That means it's not worth fixing. But a vehicle can be totaled with no body damage, no accident, no wreck. And how it can become mechanically totaled is when the cost of repairs cost more than just going out and buying another similar car. That's when it's not worth it and it is totaled. There are a lot of ways a vehicle can be mechanically totaled. The engine could have a failure and cost more than the car is worth to fix. The transmission could have a failure. It can have rust on the powertrain, the subframe, different areas that make it to where the repairs would cost more than the whole car is worth, or it would make the car unsafe to even take it apart. Another way that they can become totaled is wiring. There's a lot of Mercedes that have been in here with the corn-based insulation wiring where mice have got in and just chewed all through the whole car. There's like a Rolls-Royce I used to have where we had the older gentleman that used to own it had Alzheimer's really bad, and for whatever reason he went out and just started cutting harnesses. We never knew why. We don't know why he did it. His mind wasn't there, but he ruined the car. Anytime you have to pull the entire interior, pull the dash, pull all the stuff to pull whole harnesses out and replace them, it can cost thousands and thousands of dollars. And in a car that's worth a couple, $3,000, it's very easy to be mechanically totaled that way as well. Let's take a look around this Ford 500. This has some clouded headlights on this Ford 500. The front end is in decent shape, but you can see it has some kinship to a Ford Taurus. It has kind of the same look in the front end. These have some large wheels for being a 2005. It has 18s on it, and they look pretty nice. They're not all gouged up or beat up. You can tell they live on a dirt road. There's lots of dust on the car, but the perfect color for that is beige or gold. We do see some paint peeling on the trunk lid, which isn't too surprising on this old of a car that's at the end of its life, basically. And we do see it's the 500 all-wheel drive version. This is the limited model, and it's in pretty good shape. Let's hop into the interior and let Mrs. Wizard show you guys around the 500 interior.
Okay, ladies, gents, doesn't this look familiar to so many Ford products? Yeah, looks like you're seeing everything. But as you can see, it does say it has 0% left to their oil life. Well, that's the least of their problems with this car, unfortunately. But if I look up here, you can see that they did have 2 years ago with 150,000 miles on it. I hope they have better stickers or took better care of their car. Yikes. But the dash is in nice shape. We've got lots of beige going on here. It kind of matches the exterior. As we lift up here, we can see, oh look, nice little hidey spot up there. It's for whatever you put in there. Can get absolutely roasted and baked, I guess. Interesting spot. The faux wood is in good shape for that matter. Our HVAC controls are very simple and easy to use. And as we move back, you'll see our gear selector is in fair shape as well. It does need a bit of cleaning, but with this age of a car, nothing too unexpected. The leather is still very good on our center console area, and we look in there. Other than some, well, debris and, dust motes and, crud, it just needs a good cleaning. So we look at our seats. They are leather and they're in really comfortable shape because this is kind of that era of, well, almost a writing sofa, not quite, but it is actually quite comfortable. Our door card is beige, and more beige, but the plastic there where the cup holder is still in good shape. Those get kicked when getting in and out of the car, especially when you have kids. They typically get broken. It's looking good though. Back seat's in good shape as well. No rips, no tears, looking good back there. Headliner, same thing. It's looking really good. For being a 20-year-old car, this is the only spot that has some serious wear, tear, and damage in the interior. Yikes. This is a good candidate for a steering wheel cover, but if that's all that was wrong with the car, that's not a problem. But being that it's mechanically totaled, this isn't the biggest problem they've got right now. Enough of this interior talk. Let's see what's going on underneath the hood.
So this one doesn't have hood struts, luckily. It has a prop rod. This is our Duratec 3-liter V6. This is kind of a successor to the basic 3-liter V6 that had push rods. This one's overhead cam. They actually were a pretty decent engine. One interesting thing is the water pump is over here. It's ran off of the cam. You can see there's the hose that goes in. Fairly easy to get to. It's not too big of a deal. So that's kind of cool, actually. So what's wrong with this thing? Why is it here? The customer had complaints of when they're driving, it would slip or it wouldn't engage properly. It was shuddering, making some weird feelings they could feel through the car. They dropped it off to see what could be done, possibly save this thing. And we did scan the transmission control module for codes, and we found these codes here. I typed those codes into Identifix, which I use as a database, and let's see what they show. So we can see right here all the codes I just showed you are listed here. It's exactly what these people had, and here is the fixes. Replace the automatic transmission. Replace, replace, replace. It just keeps going. Replace the CVT. Replace the CVT. That gives you a good idea of what could be wrong with this vehicle. Here it lists again, replace the transmission, but down here there's a lot that said they replaced the transmission filter, that the filter had dropped out of place in the transmission. Several of them saying that it was just found the filter in the bottom of the pan. All the information they give you on this database that we use, which of course costs money each month, it's not free, but very much worth it. It doesn't guarantee that's what's wrong with the car. What it does is it takes 20 different items that could be wrong and narrows it down to about 2 or 3. And then you can test those areas, and 99% of the time it is very accurate and it works. So I would be led to believe this transmission is cooked, but I don't want to just dump this car. If there's a possibility that, as stated, the filter just fell out and is laying in the bottom of the pan. Let's go ahead and get this thing in the air and show you what we did to check these things out. Before we dive into the transmission, we definitely want to do a quick check and inspection to make sure there's nothing else wrong. So let's see what we see. One thing I see right off the bat, so it's definitely a leak here that's dripping from the oil pan or somewhere up above and draining all over to the subframe here. It's actually spraying on it. It's not terrible, but it is definitely a leak. Let's check these brakes. They're about 10-20% remaining. Sway bar links are fine. Struts are not blown out there. Go to this side. 10-20% remaining on the pads. CV boots are good. Sway bar link is good. Strut is okay. Nothing loose. So being this is all-wheel drive, there is a drive shaft going to the rear. It appears to be in decent shape actually. It has kind of dual exhausts that kind of curl around and go into this flex joint here. Then a single exhaust out the back. Fuel tank is intact, nothing scratched or beat up. I like that they put the fuel filter here. This is easy to get to and to change out. Here's our rear differential. It is a Haldex unit. It does appear to have some seepage going on, but nothing too serious. Check these brakes. About 10% remaining. The shock's not blown out. CV shaft and boots are good. Sway bar link is good. Nothing loose there. Shock is good. CV boots are good. CV shaft is good. Sway bar link is good. Brakes are 10%. Nothing loose there.
So I guess, is that their hidden thermos there?
No, this isn't a thermos. It's a charcoal canister. I've seen these on some Fords. It's kind of a strange shape, a strange design, but it looks to be intact and not broken.
It's easy to get to.
Yeah, it's easy to get to. I do applaud them for that. Here's our single muffler. All in all, it's actually not terrible. The oil pan or something around up above that is leaking on the engine. It does need brakes all the way around. Let's go ahead and check these tires. They are cracked pretty bad here. Let's check the date codes. These definitely need to be replaced. We can see it's the 19th week of 2014. These are old tires. These are 11 years old. It's definitely time for tires, but before we do anything with that, let's get back to the transmission. You can't just look at a transmission and say it's good or it's bad. You need to check the fluid with the dipstick if you can. Sometimes you can tell by that. And it did smell a little burn. It looked dark. But based on what I saw on the Identifix article, I want to verify that the filter hasn't fell into the pan like they mentioned. So I'll go ahead and get this drained. So I've got this all drained out. It's in this jug here. I'll put the plug back in. That is pretty dark, and it smells kind of like a forest fire. It smells pretty bad. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this pan. One thing I can notice right now, I can see, is orange Permatex RTV all around the pan. Somebody's had this off before. This doesn't come from the factory from Ford with orange RTV on it. So this has been messed with before. Let's get this pan off. So we can see our filter is not laying in the bottom of the pan. It's firmly attached here. So that's definitely not the issue. The fluid is kind of reddish color, but it smells pretty bad in here. On this magnet there's a lot of metal material. Not as much as I thought there would be, but it's pretty thick. But there's a coating on this whole pan of just like black sludge, like friction material. So we've narrowed it down. It's not the filter issue falling in the bottom of the pan. I can smell the fluid smells burned. It's having shifting issues, it's got codes. And the majority of the problems that we saw listed on Dynafix are saying replace the transmission. Based on the burn fluid, all the sludge in the pan, the trouble they're having, the codes, and the data that we looked at. I'll put this pan back on and then we'll get this thing back on the ground. So seeing the orange RTV around the oil pan of the transmission tells me somebody's been in there. They may have suspected something prior to its visit to Omega Auto Clinic. They tried maybe a filter or tried this or that. They watched one of our videos and saw that they could do that. It didn't help. It didn't work. The fluid that they did put back in it, it smells burned again. So when it's 3 strikes you're out, you can be pretty sure that's what's wrong. They're having the issues. It's slipping. It's not shifting right. The fluid smells like a forest fire. We pull the pan and see like a black sludge in the bottom of the pan. And then we have the data to kind of corroborate with what we found here from Dynafix with, I think it was 70 transmissions replaced. 70 or 80. You don't need to go any further. So can it be fixed? Can it be replaced? Yes. It will cost more than this entire car is worth. These Ford 500s aren't worth but $2 or $3 grand tops when they're in good shape, maybe $4 if it's immaculate. It will cost that much just to buy just the transmission. That does not include labor or fluids or anything else that we find. Or the oil leak that's going on with the engine, brakes. It doesn't include anything else. And you would be over the value of the entire vehicle. So this thing's mechanically totaled. It wouldn't be worth fixing. And the customer has told us they suspected the transmission could have failed. They thought that might be the issue, but they wanted to verify, make sure that's what's going on before they junk the car. And they also made this statement, if in fact that you condemn the transmission, Car Wizard, we're done. You don't need to convince us to do anything. We've already made up our mind, straight to the salvage yard. It's kind of sad. I mean, the engine runs fine. Maybe it can be used in another car, or it probably was a decent car until this happened. It's very unfortunate. But the car's not worth a whole lot. And when the repairs are this much and the car's worth this much, you got to throw in the towel. It's just not worth it. It has over 150,000 miles and it's a 20-year-old car. It's had a good life. Some cars can last a long time, but I'm kind of sad, but I'm kind of not sad because they got 20 solid years out of this car. That's not too bad. I wish it could have gone to 30. But unfortunately, as the customer stated themselves, they will be junking this car. So definitely want to do a video for you guys. What does mechanically totaled mean? And what the situation is with this Ford 500 and how we found what's wrong. And its next stop is the salvage yard. If you're curious what kind of tools we use here in the shop, we got them listed for sale. Amazon affiliates link in the description below. If you purchase anything, we get a small cut and really appreciate it. Make sure to hit the subscribe button because we have tons of videos right in front of me, which is videos for you guys. Thanks for watching.